Okay, mock draft round 2 edition, making this the night after the first round. It's kind of become a tradition to do this, as it's usually a lot of fun. I feel like it's an interesting exercise. So I have already filled out my mock draft. I'm going to just enter it in here as we go. Pick 33. I am going to go with the top player on PFF's board. I believe he's the top player still on the consensus big board. Mike Green, who has fallen a bit. I think there's two reasons. One is just the small school stuff. One other is the off the field stuff. Let's just be honest. The Browns are not an organization that's going to care too much about the off the field stuff. You now have him to just, again, continue to bolster this defensive line. You already have Myles Garrett and Mason Graham. Now you get Mike Green. I mean, talk about a potentially loaded front. The Texans at 34 are in a weird spot. I think I would rather go offensive line, but it just feels like it's a reach to do that here. So I'm going to instead just pick a really good player who they'll still find use for in Luther Burden III. Wide receiver is listed as a need. I don't think it's as big of a need as other people do, but it's something they could improve upon. So I do think that there's something there. And then for the Titans, listen, Cam Ward, very good player. You want to help him out. You want to help him out with getting a receiver, get your young player in a decent spot. You have Calvin Ridley. It's not a disaster there, but let's add another player. So I'm going to go with Jaden Higgins as my pick. I should mention this is, I guess this is what I think will happen or what I think could happen. I don't know what's going to happen. It's so hard to predict the first round, let alone the second. But I'm kind of trying to do what I think could happen, I suppose. So that's how I'm viewing it. Pick 36. This is the pick the Browns got from trading back, and I think now they don't go into the year with the quarterbacks they currently have. I do think they go with a quarterback here. Let's get Shedeur Sanders. Why not? You have this extra draft pick. You can grab him, see if it works. Don't waste a year. And hey, if it turns out he's not so good, he's not so good. But similar to the Will Levis thing, I think just because he falls, I could see him going early on here. So we'll see if that happens. But thinking there's that. Then for the Raiders, hey, you're a rebuilding team. You're trying to be good. Let's add Will Johnson, who I'm surprised fell out of the first round. He was projected to go a lot higher. There's the injury issue. I guess that's why he fell. Let's take a chance on him, right? If this hits, you got a potential star level outside corner who I think would play that scheme very well. So yeah, that makes sense to me. For the New England Patriots, so they still need receivers, right? And they didn't get one pick 4 because they just didn't feel like it made sense. But now I want to continue with receivers. So receivers starting to become a run on receivers. Jalen Noel is the next receiver on the consensus big board, so I'll give them that player. But I do think they want to target receiver here. Also for the Bears, there was a lot of talk. Do they try and trade up to get Ashton Genty with pick 10? Do they maybe even pick Amarian Hampton with pick 10? Or excuse me, try to trade up to get Genty before pick 10? Or do they just stay at 10 and pick Hampton maybe? They decide not to go running back in the first round, but I think now they can consider going running back. So I'll give them the top running back on the consensus big board, which is Trayvon Henderson. For the Saints, Saints love their defensive linemen. They could use another defensive lineman. So how about Donovan Eziraku, who, again, falls. Many people thought could be a first rounder. He ends up falling here. The Saints already, improved their offensive line early on in the first round. Now they can improve their defensive line here. And speaking of defensive line, hey, the Bears are here, and I'm just now realizing I should have had a defensive lineman go 39. Maybe should have done it that way, but did not. Whatever. I think Nick Scorrington, I don't think there'd be that big of a deal either way. But yeah, Bears maybe select a defensive lineman, pick 39, so that way you don't have the Saints, the Saints might grab the guy you want. Okay, maybe didn't think that one through. But nonetheless, I think something like that will happen. I think the Bears will try to get a defensive lineman and a halfback, and the Saints will get the other defensive lineman. You could, Scorrington and Eziraku could flip teams, but you get the idea there, hopefully. Jalen Milroe is going to be my selection at pick 42. Yes, I'm going to give the Jets a quarterback. I know. Listen, Milroe depends on who you ask, right? He is projected to be a second rounder as of right now, according to the consensus big board. And for the Jets, I don't know. I kind of just like this. They could wait around. They don't have to do this early, but you have Justin Fields. Milroe can, again, do similar things, so that part works. You still have Tyrod Taylor, so I don't need a backup, but again, let's take a flyer on Milroe, see if we can develop him. If not, no big deal. We're not spending a super premium pick on him, so I don't know. I think that, again, don't waste years at the quarterback position. Fields is certainly a nice flyer, but you don't have to go there. For the 49ers, I'm going to give them Trey Amos, a player who I really like. I wouldn't have hated drafting him in the first round, but getting him in the second round, they could use an outside corner, so he will certainly help out there. Next up, pick 44, there was a lot of talk about the Cowboys going running back in round 1. I think a lot of running backs are going to be going here in day 2. That is what I'm going to be projecting for them as well. I'll have them go with the other Ohio State running back, Quinton Judkins, who is a player I very much do like. I think is a very good rusher and could be able to help them out. So, yeah, again, also the next highest guy on the consensus big board. Then for the Colts, safety's listed as a need. There's a safety that a lot of people really like, Nick Emanuore. PFF, not that big of a fan of, but a lot of people really like him. He was a first-round pick on the consensus big board. I had him as a mid-second-round pick. That's where he goes to the Indianapolis Colts here at pick 45. The Rams at pick 46 here. So remember, they did not have a first-round pick. They traded with Atlanta, got a future first-round pick next year. So the Rams keep the trend going of not having first-round picks, although now have 2 next year. I'm going to give him a corner here, and I think this is just kind of a Rams pick of Siobhan Revel, who is just a good player, right? Like straight up, he's just a good player. I think they value good players, so getting someone like that, helping out the defense, should be good. For the Cardinals, they could also use a corner. Benjamin Morrison's on the board. I'll keep it moving, give them let them continue to help out the defense here. For the Dolphins, so I feel like they could definitely address the offensive line. Did not do that with pick 13. Can maybe do that here. And I think there's a player that, maybe a couple players that they could go with. I'll have them going with Ariante Essery, another guy that PFF is not crazy about, but is supposed to go around here according to the consensus big boards. So I'll go that way. The Bengals also need to help out defense and need to double down on defense. They already selected a defensive lineman. They could double down on that, but let's give them a corner as well. Azariah Thomas will be my pick for them, trying to help out the secondary. They have some guys. They might, there's some options there. Plus, throw another guy in the mix here. I think there's logic to all of that. The Seattle Seahawks, next on the list. I struggled with them here, and they have 2 picks, so that really made me struggle with them. But I decided, you know what? Okay, Noah Fant's a fine tight end. You can upgrade there. Mason Taylor is projected to go around here. So let's add that, and the Broncos could consider going, tight end if they wanted to, although not that they're in desperate need there, but you can always add another weapon, right, for Denver. Let's just go with that. The Denver Broncos, I had a very fun pick selected for them. How about Kim Scadaboo here? Why not, right? Isn't that just a Sean Payton guy? Absolutely. Another team that doesn't go running back in the first, but goes running back here. As I mentioned, the Seahawks have another pick right here. This is the one that they got from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where do they want to select? Again, this was in the DK Metcalf trade, if you remember. So who do they replace DK Metcalf with? Well, how about Landon Jackson, edge rusher out of Arkansas. Again, they could use an edge rusher, so let's add one to the mix there. The Buccaneers elected not to help out the defense, which was a real issue last year. Instead, helped out their offense, which was a real strength last year. Okay, they like the player. Let's not do that with every pick, though. Let's go with Xavier Watts, get a safety to play with Antoine Winfield. That could be a lot of fun. The Green Bay Packers, who will now have their second pick in a draft that is in Wisconsin. Let's go with, listen, they have a couple linebackers that I think they might like. The Edgerrin Cooper, I personally do like. I think he's a good player, but they need something else, I think. I want to add another guy in the mix. So Carson S., who is the next linebacker on the board, projected to go around here. I'm going to go with that. It's not just the position of need. I think he's a good player. I think they might just pick a good player, right? But also I think it would fill a need. The Chargers are interesting. Again, they were a team many thought, do they go wide receiver? They elect to go running back. I do think now they go wide receiver, and I was trying to figure out who I wanted to go with. I'm going to go with Jack Beck, which could be argued, are you kind of getting just another guy who does what Ladd McConkey does? I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that'd be pretty good if you got another Ladd McConkey, and not saying he'll be as good as Ladd McConkey, but maybe you can get someone who does similar things. And listen, the Chargers want guys who can do things like that. So because of that, that's why I like that selection there. The Bills, who helped out their secondary in the first round, but you know what? I think they could continue to help it out. They got a corner. I think they could use a safety. Andrew Makuba is someone here at pick 56 who I think is very good. You can usually get good safeties in round 2, which is why it's not always the best idea to draft them in round 1. He's someone who I think will help them win games. So yeah, let's upgrade there. And then for the Panthers, I was thinking about where I wanted to go with them, and I figured, well, listen, they're another team that could afford to double down on what they did in the first round. I'm going to have them go receiver with Alec Enyemare, again, a guy who some people have very different opinions on. I said his name horribly, by the way, but did my best here. But yeah, I mean, again, they need more than one receiver. They added Ted McMillan, but they still need to fill out that receiving core. Yes, the defense still stinks, but I want to have a good situation for Bryce Young, and I don't know if there's the right defensive player on the board right here. The Texans at pick 58, they just got to go offensive line now, right? Like, it just doesn't matter if it's a reach. You got to do it. So Jonah, again, I'm not going to try to pronounce somebody's names. Jonah S. here is the guy who goes to the Texans. I don't know if he's going to be a tackle or a guard, but they need an offensive lineman, so let's add him to the mix. And then for the Ravens, I think they would like a guard, and quite frankly, I think there's a guard that's on the table here that would fit. This is Tate Rattledge out of Georgia, who I'm going to select here with the 59th pick. Pick 60, this is a fun one. This is one that I have talked about prior to the first round. I think this would be smart. Let's give them, not running back. Lions fans were very confused for a second. No, wide receiver, Kyle Williams. I just think he fits that. Again, I know it's not Ben Johnson anymore, but Ben Johnson's scheme, it's going to be the similar stuff. He just fits that so well. Let's make that happen. That would be just an absolute blast. Get another guy in the building who can do some similar things that like an Amon-Ra St. Brown can do. Maybe he could be another Amon-Ra St. Brown. High bar to clear. We'll see if he gets there, but like someone of that play style, maybe not of that caliber. Braden Swinston is next on this my list. He is an edge rusher who I think the criticism of him is like, okay, is he a guy who you can put on first downs? Can you have him defend? Can you have him defend to run? Things like that. And that's fair. That's totally fair. But they just need a guy who can pass rush on third downs. Like, that's what they need. So, you know what? Just go out and get a guy who can be a rotational pass rusher with pick 61. That's helping you win football games right now with Jaden Daniels. So that's how I would go about that. Pick 62, I think the Bills continue to help out their defense. Their offense was fine last year. They made some pieces to help that out even more so in free agency, or at least kind of, add some pieces here. I think they want to continue to go defense. Again, if the right offensive player was available, they'll take him. But in this scenario, I'm just going to go Demetrius Knight Jr., continue to help fill out this defense and fill out some of the holes on this defense. The Kansas City Chiefs are very interesting. I had talked about after round 1, who's going to play guard for them? Well, let's throw another guy in the mix. I know you have Kingsley Sumatea, but what I'm going to do is add Marcus Mabo here, who is listed as a tackle according to PFF, but I believe he would be a guard. Most people have him as guard, so I will select him with pick 63. Finally, pick 64, the Philadelphia Eagles, who a lot of people thought might go defensive line in round 1. I think they instead go defensive line here. I'm going to give them Darius Alexander, the interior defensive lineman. So let's make that, put that in. And now here's what I hate about the PFF mock draft is you do this, but then Oh wait, maybe I can't actually see the second round. You can see the second round, but it's not as fun, right? I want to have this chart. This is the fun part. Instead, when I see the full results, it has to be just boring list. That's not as fun. But yeah, that is my boring list here of what I would do, or not what I would do, what I think might happen in the NFL draft. I don't know. It should be fun to see. Round 2, still a lot going on. Round 2 and round 3 tomorrow. So, yeah, should be fun. But, okay, I'm tired. It's 1:15 on the East Coast. I got to go to bed. But thank you to anyone who's watched all of this content I posted tonight. I do appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts on this mock draft list in the comments below. Always love hearing from ya. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.